Evening. My name is Tanya Caines, and I'm here to discuss managing challenging behaviors. And I really mean your own. So you can go to the next slide and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so sorry, just setting things up on my end. Okay. So just wanted to give a quick introduction of myself. My name is Tanya Caines. Like I said, I have a Master's of Arts degree in Speech Language Pathology from New York University, and I have a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from the City College of New York, CUNY. Been in the Department of Education for 19 years, 10 years with junior high and high school students with multiple disabilities within District 75 within the New York City Department of Education. And for 9 years now, I've been working within general education within a community school with elementary students. So I'm working with from 3K all the way up to fifth grade with students that have language delays. My early intervention experiences with children from birth to 3, and specialization with behavioral feeding and also children who are medically fragile. I have experience as an adjunct supervisor within CUNY at Brooklyn College for 9 years, and then I supervised graduate speech level pathology students within that discipline. But then also I worked as an adjunct lecturer for NYU and taught a variety of classes. I'm Orton Gillingham trained, so I'm an associate level trained. And also, sorry, I also have an 11-year-old, so I will just tell you if you hear a little voice and the pitter pattering of feet behind me, please don't be alarmed. It's just my son being himself. So thank you. I just want to gauge the temperature. I just want to see how we're feeling tonight. I know that many times we've had a long day of work. We've been doing so many things. We do so much as educators. We wear so many hats. But, I just want to see how are we feeling tonight. I know right about now, I'm in a good place. I think I'm in a neutral place. I don't know where you are, but when you look at this, chart, you want to look and see where are your emotions right now. And though that may sound silly, I know we use this a lot for kids. You want to think about where your emotions are at any given time because it will really come into play depending on what we're talking about tonight. But it really is a good way to gauge where you are before you start anything, before you start an activity, before you start working with your students. It really does play a difference and impact. Okay, next slide, please. And I'm just going to drink some water. So these are all the places that you can contact me. I started this business, Kit Language and Literacy, during the pandemic. Excuse me, and I provide resources, support for speech pathologists who are strictly just coming out of school, all the way to a speech pathologist who is transitioning into maybe a new area of concentration. So maybe you are coming from a hospital setting and now you are going to work in schools, or maybe you already work in schools. Maybe you work in District 75 like I did, and you are transitioning into a community school, or the opposite. Maybe you are in a community school and you're transferring into District 75. I really believe in supporting you, helping you, making you work easier, and helping to just be there to tackle those goals. So these are all the ways that you can contact me. You can scan that QR code to reach me. I am the same name, Kit Language and Literacy, on all platforms. And that email address is also kitlanguageandliteracy@gmail.com. Okay, so I love to give a story time, and I would not be myself if I didn't give you a story time. Okay, so this is Miss Bonita. If you don't know who this is, of course, I'm always aging myself, but this is Miss Bonita from In Living Color. If you didn't know who she was, you can look her up. But here's my story time. So picture it. It's February 2026 and it's winter time. It's the first session of the day. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Work has just started and I'm going to pick up the first group of the day. So I have 2 students at this time. I go to their classroom and I pick them up. So let me give you a backstory on one of the students. This group has a student that has some challenging behaviors. He has this one particular student has operational defiant disorder, and that can make the sessions really challenging, and it can make the sessions stressful, and it can be draining. I tend to put those types of groups that can drain me a little bit earlier in the week and earlier in the day, so that I still have the stamina to get through the rest of the week. And I'm not, you know, I don't want to be negative or pessimistic as I go through the week to get to the student. So I go to get the student. He's clearly unsettled by something that happened at home. So teachers are reporting he came into school and he's upset. We don't know why. I had a great activity planned, an articulation activity that was planned, but you know, they say that God laughs at your plans. And from the minute I walked into the classroom, he started rolling his eyes. He said he needs to eat breakfast. He's not wearing his FM unit. And, you know, I tried everything that I could. I told him, bring your breakfast with you. Um, I ignored the eye rolling and I said, you know, let's get the FM unit, let's bring it downstairs. We went through 20 minutes of this opposition to even come downstairs to the speech room. And remember, my sessions, I should say my sessions are 30 minutes long because I'm in an elementary school. So I spent 20 minutes of the back and forth of the opposition to try to get him out of the room, to try to get him to bring the FM unit. And the session ended with him sliding his face against every wall on the third floor, every wall. I had to call his mother. The teachers were informed, and the dean had to come and escort the student away from my room because he refused to leave. Once I got him down, he didn't want to go back up to the room so that I could get the other students for the next session. So needless to say, it's 8:30 now in the morning. I am stressed. I am drained, and I am irritated. And I still have to perform my job for the rest of the day. I still have to see other students and be on and smiling and be positive for the other students. So, has this ever happened to anyone else? Have you ever had a story like this happen to you? I still can't believe it happened to me. Have you ever had a student that drained you within a session? And if you have had a student like that, how do you handle yourself during these challenging sessions? What do you do? What's your next step? Those are some of my questions that I have for you. So, next slide, please. So, what I want to remind you is that it's not about managing our emotions. It's about managing our reactions to the emotions. We encounter so many different emotions. And I really like this quote because I feel like it's a gentle reminder and it's a really great reminder. I'm going to say something and I'm going to hold your hand. I'm virtually holding your hand. We are educators, okay? And so, with that hat of being an educator, we are expected to know everything, even though that's not possible. We are expected to always be on, to always use the proper strategies and techniques that we know. We are expected to always know what to do. But at the end of the day, we are still human beings and we have our own emotions and we have our own triggers. And I want to hold your hand while I say this. And I'm holding my own hand. So virtually holding your hand. We don't always handle these type of situations in the best way. And I know that I'm guilty of that as well. So then what do we do? How do we manage our emotions? How do we keep our emotions intact and not react? Okay. What do we do in these type of instances? So next slide. So here we go. Thank you. Some of those behavioral challenges, they look really different, right? We have a lot of things that can be happening. And some challenges you may observe, and they might be escaping and they might be avoidance. So that might be the child that is, you're in the middle of session and they need to go to the bathroom. The minute they see, they come into the room and they see the papers on the table, they see a worksheet, they need to go to the bathroom. Or maybe it's a student who you are sitting and you're working on a concept and the student is fine. And all of a sudden, you know that you are approaching information that is a trigger for that student or something that that student has difficulty with. And immediately they need water, they need to go to the bathroom, their stomach hurts, they need to visit the nurse. I know that we've all had these types of students before. Or you may have a student that just refuses to do the work. They shut down, they won't even attempt it. And some of these students don't even speak and tell you, they don't verbally tell you. They may just sit there and just stop talking to you, or they may put their head down and now they're done. The emotional responses include students crying, yelling, or throwing objects. There is a student that I've had who was asked to read a paragraph. This student particularly struggled with reading, writing, and spelling, and the student began to cry. Or you may have a student who picks up a chair and throws it across the room because you have asked them to attempt a task on their own. And I know that we've all seen those types of students at some point. Disengagement is when you get no response from the student or they kind of zone out. This may be the student going back to, maybe you're giving them a challenging task and they put their head on the table and they're not responding. Right now I have a student who we're working on fluency with her, and I get about a good 15 minutes with her working on fluency, going over fluency shaping, before she just decides to shut down and she does not speak to me anymore. So that might be the student she's just disengaging. It might be too overwhelming for her, the task that I'm giving to her. And I'm working on that. I'm working with the parent and working with this student to see how I can modify the intervention that I'm providing for her to keep her engaged. Or maybe we might be working on building her tolerance, because maybe right now she can only handle 15 minutes and we can start building up to 20 and 30 minutes within the session. But that's, we can talk about that another time. Also, if we talk about controllers, what is a controller? You may have a student who tries to control everything. These are the control seekers, or I like to call them the controllers. These are the negotiators, and they try to argue throughout the session to control aspects of the activity. Or this is a student who maybe you guys are playing a game and they are trying to rewrite the rules of a game to suit their needs. What does that mean? You're playing a game and you say, okay, you need to, before you move your piece, you need to say the target word 3 times. And they're like, oh no, can we do it once? How about we just move the pieces and we say the target word after? That's the student who's always trying to rewrite all of the rules to suit their needs, because they're trying to control the environment, because it's making them feel safer to control the environment. Does that sound familiar? Does any of that sound familiar? These are all signs. These are signals for us. Many times we think, oh my God, these kids are just acting up. They're just being annoying. They're being irritating. No, but these are signs. They're signals for us to decode. It's not for us to try to put a Band-Aid on the situation, but really our job is to decode the message that this child is trying to communicate to us. That is what we are really there for. Next slide, please. Okay, so what do our behaviors look like? This slide is going to be a little controversial. And just hear me out. Okay, hear me out. Like I said, I'm one of you. I'm there every day in the trenches. I know what it's like. Sometimes we are the ones who make the students' behaviors escalate. Sometimes it's us. And can we agree that we all make mistakes on the job? Can we just put a hand up? We all make mistakes on the job. We are not perfect. We are human beings. And like I said before, we are walking in with our own triggers, our own things in life that are happening. And we also know that when we are more stressed and when we are more overwhelmed, it makes it hard for us to do our jobs effectively. So I just want to give us grace, first of all, give yourself a little hug, give yourself grace, because we're trying the best that we can. We really are trying the best that we can. We also have to realize we are overworked as well. No one talks about that part. We're overworked. We're doing a lot with a little. Especially if you work in a Title I school, you are doing a lot with a little. And for those of you who don't know what a Title I school is, that's like an underprivileged or underserved community. And so that school tends to have more needs. But we're really trying our best with what we have. We are burnt out. Remember, I'm always talking about burnout. The burnout is real. We are burnt out and we're trying the best that we can. But so we all make our mistakes. But can we also agree that sometimes we make the situations worse with our behavior and our words? That's not something we're talking about, but sometimes we make it worse. Can we also agree that sometimes we are triggered by what's happening in our therapy rooms? I'm not blaming us. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes we are triggered by what's happening in our therapy rooms. I'm going to give you a personal story that is so personal that it happened today. Today was sports day at my job. Sports day. Lots of kids screaming all over the place. Chaos. It's like organized confusion, but it's still confusion. I don't know how I've become the team captain for my team. It just so happened most of the time it works out. However, there's a certain point of time where it doesn't work out for me. When the kids are all, every kid wants to be in every different activity that they have. It's not possible. There's just too many kids and not enough activities. So sometimes, they put out a pre-populated list. Sometimes you have to switch kids around based on who has a permission slip or who's absent for the day. But also sometimes kids just don't get a chance. Every kid doesn't get a chance to do everything. Whenever a new activity comes up and the kids want to do it, everyone stands up and they get close to you and they're waving their hands in your face. Please pick me, pick me, pick me, 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 me. I'm sitting down today and the kids are pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. And every year I go through the same thing where I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. I start getting very irritated because the kids are, rightfully so, they're being kids. Um, they're being themselves. The kids are doing what kids do. Kids are getting upset because they just don't, if they're not winning, they're upset. It creates a whole thing. And this year, we had a different teacher who I work with throughout the year, but she's new to the school and she was on our team. And she just did some simple things that I had to turn and look at her and laugh and say, those are things that never crossed my mind to do. And they're so simple. When the kids were pick me, pick me, pick me, she's like, absolutely not. If you are standing and your hand is in Miss Caines' face, then you will not be picked. You need to sit down and keep your mouth quiet. Why didn't that occur to me? I was being triggered. I was being triggered by my environment. And so watching someone else do different things, something simple, it was like, wow. So I was showing my frustration. I was a victim of that today. So I want to I share that story to tell you it's not just you, it's me too. We all do these things, right? So I'm not blaming us. I'm just saying that we do a lot with the little that's given, but sometimes it's us. So I want to gently say, what behaviors are we putting forth that can have the opposite effect of what we desire? Just like I did today. What behaviors are we putting forth? So, one of the things, repeating directions over and over may have the opposite effect. It may just build overwhelm for a student. So I want to go back to this one, repeating directions, because I know that one of the strategies that we use a lot within speech is, okay, I'm going to say the directions over to help the student. But if we're saying the directions over and over and over in the exact same way, is that really helpful? Not so much, right? Maybe we might have to think about rephrasing what we're saying. Sometimes, shocker, sometimes it is the way that we worded the direction, right? And that's something we learn very basic when we are in school, but to maybe change the way you said the directions, to make directions clear and concise. But we're human, and sometimes we don't give directions in the most clearest form, right? So don't keep repeating the same thing over and over and over. That can make someone very frustrated. For instance, when I tell my son the same thing over and over, he's, stop saying the same thing. Right. I don't want to hear the same thing over and over. Neither do our students, right? So maybe think about rephrasing what you're saying. Or maybe think about, I need to keep in the pertinent information and take out all the other words. Okay. Thinking about showing our frustration, like I did today. When we're frustrated, they can read it on our face. It's hard to hide frustration. It's hard to hide frustration. And even when you think that they can't, they usually can. If we're rolling our eyes, if we're sighing, if we're speaking harshly, these are signals to a child that we don't want to be around them and we don't want to help them. Okay. So we have to think about, what is our face doing? Many times we're not aware of what our face is doing or what we are conveying with the words that we're saying, but maybe think about our tone, keeping your tone a little calmer, take a deep breath, making sure that you are being clear with what you're saying, but not trying to show your frustration. Sometimes we fill up the silence with talking too much, and now the talking becomes noise. And now we are continuing to overwhelm a student who is already struggling. If we say, do you know what that means? And the kid doesn't say anything. Do you understand? Well, let me explain it to you. And this, and we're going and we're going and we're going. Remember wait time. Remember the pause. I remember when I was in graduate school being told by a teacher, I think I asked, how long should I pause when a student doesn't respond to a question? How long should I give them for thinking time? And the teacher said, you wait until when you feel uncomfortable, give them 5 seconds more. Some students, you may have students who really take a long time to process the information that you've given them, and they take a long time to now retrieve the information that you've asked for and then give that verbally to you. It takes time. I would even ask students sometimes, do you need more time? And for some students, I tell them, tell me I need time. And so some kids will say, I need thinking time. Absolutely. You get thinking time. One, I think it's a great way for a student to advocate for themselves because I can't read your mind. I can't read their minds. And two, they need to be able to tell people, I'm not ready yet. I need you to just wait a second. So that's definitely a great thing. And now another thing I want to talk about that we do all the time. I know I do it sometimes. I've been guilty of this. When I am taking things personal, logically, I know that it's not my fault. I know it's not my fault. I know this really has nothing to do with me. I'm just the person they're taking it out on. But sometimes we take things personal that we really shouldn't. So what do we do? Next slide, please. So what do we do? What do we do? What are the things that you guys are doing to cope? We all have different methods. We all have, different strategies that we come up with. I know it was a great thing for me to see another educator today modeling the behavior that I would love to have. And it was such a simple thing, but it was a great thing for me to observe another educator and see how she handled that stressful situation. And it made me realize there are ways I'm getting caught up in the overwhelm. I'm getting caught up in it's too many kids, it's a lot going on. So, excuse me, I'm overwhelmed. And so I'm letting my overwhelm influence everything else rather than putting back on my thinking hat and saying, what can I do in this situation to create some type of calm? So it was a great thing for me today to observe another educator. So think about some of the things that you do. Think about those things that you come up with. We all have different strategies. And now I'm going to share a couple of them that I've come up with you. Next slide, please. There we go. So first thing, breathe. Take a deep breath. That sounds really silly. It sounds like, oh, of course I'm breathing. Are you really though? Of course you're breathing because you're alive. So you're breathing. But sometimes we don't realize how short our breath is, that we're really not taking a deep breath. So something that I have been introduced to more is this technique that's called the 4-4-4. So we're going to do it now. If you've never heard of the 4-4-4, we're going to do it now. So you're going to so let me explain it first. You're going to take a deep breath in for 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to hold that breath for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to breathe out through your mouth for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to do it again. So let's do it one more time. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And so that is something you can repeat that for about 3 or 4 times. It really does help your heart rate to decrease. It gives you a feeling of calm, and it helps you to just realize it, to center yourself, because there's a lot going on and you need to be centered. You need to be in control because you're the only one who can control the situation at this point. Okay. So that's the first thing we're going to do is breathe. The second thing we're going to do is we need to set boundaries, and we need to set firm boundaries. We need boundaries for our sessions, and we need boundaries for ourselves. Now, I know that many times we don't like to talk about boundaries. We think of them as like this horrible thing. But if you think about it, you're setting boundaries every day. If students come into your room and before a student comes into your room, if you hear them screaming in the hallway and you stop them, you're like, absolutely not, we're not screaming in the hallway, this is how we walk down the hallway. That's a boundary. You are telling them what they should do. Now, they may go upstairs to the next floor and start screaming again, but they know when they pass your room, I bet you they'll stop by the time they get to that door, like, oh, no, no, she told me not to scream. So you're setting up a boundary. I realized that I set lots of boundaries in my room that I didn't realize. So one of the boundaries that I realized I set is my desk, like the actual workspace, is my sacred area. No one is touching the things on my desk. And that may sound harsh, but students need to learn that they cannot just come into different places and start touching every single thing. You just the same way you cannot go into a store and just start touching every single thing, because people may think you're stealing. They may accuse you of something. So you can't just go in and touch everything that you want. My desk, you do not touch. Of course, the rest of the room where we are doing activities, we are over there. I don't have a problem with them touching stuff, but they cannot just keep taking things on and off my desk. So that's something we don't do. For me, when I'm going to get my students and when they are coming into my room, they know I don't like the running and screaming down the hallway. We are not outside. We are in a school building. You will act accordingly. So usually if I have a student that is running all over and trying to do that, I just say, oh, absolutely not. I need to see you. What grade are you in? You need to show me what a third grader looks like walking down the hallway. And I make them go back to the door, the hallway door, and walk down the hallway. And they know, they're like, oh, I have to go back, but they do it. So it's a boundary that I've set. So you just need to think about what boundaries you need to set in your environment, okay? There are some boundaries you also need to have for yourself. For example, I do not like bringing work home, physically and mentally. So I will not bring home paperwork. I don't bring it home. And also, it's a weird thing. I don't know how I do it. The minute I leave work, it's like, boop, it's left there and picks back up on Monday morning. I don't know how I do it. I think I've just kind of conditioned myself to be like, nope, turn it off and see you, it's weekend. For me, it works best. I feel like I need a work-life balance. I have a rich home life of things that I do, and like a rich social life, and I like it like that. And I have a work life, and I don't think that we should be working all the time and not have any time to enjoy your life. That is me. I also, like I said, have an 11-year-old, but even before I had the 11-year-old, I've always been like this, to the point where the school psychologist in my building knows. He contacted me about something recently, and then he said, oops, it's a Saturday. I know you're not going to respond, so I guess we'll talk on Monday. And I put laugh out loud, talk to you Monday at 8. Now he knows we can talk about so many different things because he's really funny. We've grown closer over the years, but I do not want to talk about work stuff when I'm not at work. That's just for me. Now you can handle your life and your work in whatever way, shape, or form. And I know that everyone's job is different, right? So that's totally fine. But that's a boundary I set for myself. You may say, you know what, I'm going to work until 6 o'clock on a Friday evening, and after that, I'm done. I don't want to talk about work anymore. So we all have to find the different boundaries that help us to kind of disconnect. Okay. Excuse me. So the next thing is indulging in self-care. You know that I'm a big proponent. I talk a lot about self-care. I think it's very important to have some type of form of self-care. Okay. Do you like to read? Do you like journaling? Do you like working out? Do you like sitting in silence? Maybe you like to sit in a park, surrounded by trees and grass. Maybe you like to go sit near water. I know a lot of people love to sit near water. So maybe you decide to go to the boardwalk and sit by the beach if you have a boardwalk near you so that you can look at the water. There's nothing wrong with that. That's totally okay. And you have to find what works best for you. I have come to realize I was always a person who said I don't journal. I've become a journaler. Who knew? Right? So sometimes you may have to revisit something that you wrote off before that you didn't think was for you. Sometimes as you get older, as you change, we're growing and evolving every day. So it may change for you. You may decide that that's something you like, but you need to find something that you can just disconnect from everything and just take care of you. Okay. Let's talk about stress management. What are you using? What do you need, like when work is just whew, it's a lot going on? What are you using to kind of help you? Some people like stress balls. So some people, I know, one time my coworker had given out these little, they're little stars, but actually when you squeeze it, it's a stress ball, which I was really thankful for, because at first I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Then I got it, I got stressed at work and I took that ball and I started squeezing it, and I said, okay, I understand her point behind it. So that's a really quick one that you could use. But maybe you were stressed and now it's lunchtime and you need to take a quick break and quick walk around the block to kind of clear your head and get some fresh air and remove yourself from the situation. So sometimes you may need that, and I've definitely done that before. I see the stress ball. I see like a
I
little
have a
Rubik's
slinky.
cube. Oh, a
So,
slinky. Absolutely, right. And you see people keep these little things on their desk, and you might say, what are they doing? No, it's stress, because you need something to calm yourself down. Some people even keep something in their pocket, so as they're walking around, they can kind of manipulate it. And then remember, years ago we had those the fidget spinners, and then the ones that pop. I forgot what those are called.
Mhm.
But we would give them to the kids. But sometimes it's good to keep those around for yourself, because we need to de-stress in a, in a short amount of time. And then the last one is enjoy your life. Like, life is really short. And the more and more you see, like, people, I have been around so many people who retire and retire forcefully. And what I mean by that is not of your own free will. Sickness taking people out for retirement, or someone passing, and that's it. Live your life. You have to find a work life balance, because life is short. And we want to be around to take care of ourselves, right? And to just enjoy it. So you definitely have to live your life. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so these are some more coping strategies. What about no? No is a whole sentence. No is a whole sentence. When I was younger, my parents used to say something that used to annoy me. No, no means no. Oh, that used to drive me crazy. No means no. It's like, what do you mean? And it's true. No means no. That's it. And then for me, usually I would keep pushing why, but why, and then I would get because I said so. So that was, that was my generation. But no really is a whole sentence. It doesn't have to be explained. Sometimes it's just a no, and that's it, and it's non-negotiable. This applies to staff and to students. So sometimes you have to say to a student, no, this is not happening, and that's just what it is. And then with staff members, it looks a little different. So we can't just say no, right? You need to make it sound a little more professional. So I'm unavailable to do that. I apologize. I can't fulfill that. You have to figure it out. It depends on the situation, right? So it really just depends. But no is a whole sentence, and it's okay to say no. You have to, you need to maintain your boundaries and be confident in your no when you know that that's just not something that you can fulfill. Okay. Also, everything can be finished tomorrow. It is okay to not finish everything at the end of the day. It's a marathon and not a sprint. And I like to say that, yeah, the work is there, but it'll be there for you tomorrow. It'll be waiting for you bright and early when you get there in the morning. So, some things, of course, if there's something that has to, is about on a timeline. So, of course, if something is due by end of day, then you're going to have to get that done, right? That's the priority that you have to, you have to set up. If something is due, if you know that something is due on Monday morning, and it's Tuesday of the week before, so let's start working on it, right? Let's not wait to the last minute. Let's not procrastinate, and then it's now Monday at 8 o'clock, and now you're going crazy and trying to stuff everything to get this done before 12. Let's do it within reason, but everything will be there tomorrow. So I don't ever feel like, oh my goodness, I have to get this CCC paperwork in today, because CCC will be there tomorrow, literally. Literally, you finish it today and you have to do it tomorrow for the next day. So, okay, I'll get it done, within reason. I'm not 5 months behind, you know what I mean? But if the work will really be there tomorrow. So please don't feel like, at the end of the day, you feel this heaviness on your heart that you didn't get this work done. We also want to think about setting up a calm environment. So we know the environment already can be chaotic, but what can we do to create that calming space? So I have a coworker literally 2 doors down who has started to play calming music at a really low level in her room to de-escalate rough situations before they start. And that's why she said it. She said it's to de-escalate the rough situations before they start. And I was in her room yesterday for an IEP meeting, and I said, you know what? Do you mind if I just sit in here and do my work? She's like, yeah. And we literally sat in silence listening to the calming music. And it was very peaceful. And so I realized I'm going to start doing that in my room as well. Let's just, calm presence in the room. I know in my room, I definitely do set the mood. People tell me when they come into the room, it smells like a cloud. And it's because I have like a scent that's going in the room. One, because my room is across from the dance room, and I got this, I've been disgusted by the smell of feet and I can't take it anymore. So I've decided to put in things in the room that don't make it smell, so make my room smell enjoyable. And then also I like a nice light smell. That may not work for you. You may have to determine that because you may have students that have issues with smells. Absolutely understanding, but think about maybe setting the room and maybe setting the room for calmness and a working environment at the same time. And, just talking again about the journaling and gratitude, I totally don't want you to think that we are just here like, everything is horrible and oh my gosh, not that at all. We are definitely grateful. We have a privilege, we have jobs, we are thankful, we are grateful. And journaling is one way to really, it makes you see the reality of the situation. Many times we can create situations. We assume many things. We think a situation looks one way. And then when you write it down and you come back to it, you realize, it's not as deep as I thought it was. Or, I'm really grateful for this. Or, maybe that situation is chaotic. And what can I do? What are the next steps that I can do to change the environment? So, journaling is a really great way to also help you with the gratitude, just making sure that you are grateful for everything, but also it really is a way to give you some focus on what is happening in your life. So, if journaling is something you've never done, maybe you can start with writing 2 things that you're grateful for the day. And it's hard to be negative and pessimistic when you're thinking about the 2 things that you're grateful for the day. So that's something you may want to think about. Okay. And so just going to give you one last story time with Miss Bonita. Next slide, please. So just one more story with Miss Bonita. So recently, this was a doozy. I proctored the state exam. And I had one student in my room who doesn't receive speech, an ICT student, but the other one was a student that I serve. The ICT student became very upset during the test that I would not help him. Also, let's just go back that I would not help him during the state test. I can't help you. I can't. Legally, I cannot help. But he became very upset. He repeatedly asked for help. So those were the first cries that showed me this child is an overwhelm. He is progressive. And I told him that I couldn't help him. I said, sweetheart, I can't help you, which he tried to persuade me to help. So he's trying to control the situation. He said, you can help me. I won't tell. So he's trying to control. He's the controller, right? I still said I couldn't help you. And when I couldn't help him, he escalated to name calling. So then now you're mean, you're ugly. And then he started kicking my garbage can, which shows the emotional response, right? Now he's kicking, he's actually doing harm to things. I repeated my boundaries. I said, I cannot help you. If you need to, you can take breaks. So I made sure that I gave him breaks because that's something that's on his IEP. He gets breaks. We took breaks. I made sure the time goes up every 10 minutes. You need to use the bathroom. You need to stretch, take a movement break. I did all of those things. I stayed calm in the moment. And I did not take anything that he said personal. I even asked him, would you like to be removed to a different place? Because maybe it's something about me in this environment. And I knew that it wasn't, but that's to show that I didn't take it personal, because maybe it is, and maybe you need something else. So I did all the things. Did at the end, the student was still, he was still being who he is, but I recognized that all of the behaviors that he exhibited were very much all of the behavioral concerns that we talked about today. Avoiding, trying to persuade me to helping him, trying to say, no one will know, I won't tell anyone, kicking the garbage can, his emotional response, putting his head down on the table, disengagement. He was a clear sign of when he didn't get his way. And I even had to say no to him a couple of times. And he did not like hearing the no. And so he kept trying to escalate his behaviors. Like I said, I stayed calm. I'm thankful that I had all these resources to help me to not escalate it myself, right? To not bring my challenging behaviors into this. But it was a great way to see that it's not about you. It's not you. He he did not know how to manage his behaviors. He could not help that he was feeling overwhelmed from the test. He did not know how to process it or how to move forward. And since he didn't know how to process it and move forward, he lashed out at me. But we do know. We have strategies that can help us. And I'm not always great at them. Today, I totally was not great at it. Today was a day that now, as I can sit back and reflect, I can say, I need to work on that in those stressful situations. I have the tools, I know what to do. We have to remember we are trained clinicians who know how to modify behaviors. That's our job. We modify so much. They can't modify, they don't know how. If they knew how to modify their behaviors, then they wouldn't be with us. So, as the educators and as the clinicians, we have to use what's in our toolbox. We talk a lot about the toolbox. We talk a whole lot about the toolbox. We have to use what's in our toolbox to help these kids to, manage these challenging behaviors, of course, of them, but also manage it for ourselves as well. So, I just want to remind you, as we are finishing, that the goal is never perfect behavior. The goal is teaching better behavior. That's what we're here to do. And even though we have our times, we know how to step away, we know how to calm ourselves down and then jump back in, because again, if our students could do it, then they would. If they could do it, then they wouldn't need us. So I just want to remind you of that. Next slide. So thank you so much for sticking with me. It was just a nice time just talking about all the things that we go through in our job and some strategies on how to cope. You always can contact me at, again, all of these platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and even through email. You can scan that link. It takes you to my link tree that can show you some other things that I've done in the past. And if you want to get in contact with me, it's kitlanguageandliteracy@gmail.com. Thank you so much for sticking with me.